Here we go.
All right, Max is joining. Hey, John. Hello, Max. Can you hear me okay?
I can. How's it going?
Good. You look very comfortable.
I am. I'm on my bed, so
Oh, nice. I like your style. How's it going?
yeah, that's good. No
Good.
complaints. It's
Awesome.
almost Friday.
Right? We're almost there. We almost made
Yeah,
it. Awesome. Well, I think we should just jump right into it because we've got so much to go over today. And thank you, Max, for joining me today. I'm so excited. This is
of
actually your
course.
first IG Live, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, pretty nervous but excited.
You're going to be amazing. Hey,
I
Andy.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, so before we begin, I just wanted to introduce myself for people who don't know me. My name's Allison. I'm a marketing and communications manager for music and tech companies and also artists. I do these IG Lives every other week with other music marketing professionals, and I really enjoy them, and I feel like the community does as well. So before I introduce Max, just a little bit on the format of this chat. It's going to be about 30 minutes long. Max and I are going to talk and have a nice little chat. If you have a question during our conversation, just drop it in that question mark box that's at the bottom of your screen. It should be that square icon with the question mark. And then at the end, I'll have about 10 minutes to go through any questions that have been submitted. It's just easier for questions to go that route instead of in the ever scrolling chat box. Let's see what else. And I think that's it. So today we're talking about websites for artists. So Max, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Cool. So I'm Max P. I am a full-time freelancer specializing in Squarespace website design and online advertising. So through Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And my background is in the music industry, where I've had jobs at different labels and distribution companies and agencies, and kind of after that experience, kind of jump ship and in a full-time freelancer now.
Yes, full-time freelancing. So we know you're a boss,
Yeah, kind of.
right? You kind of have to be. Yeah,
Yeah, you
especially
have
right
to. Yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. You have to
So,
be really strict on your schedule.
oh, for sure. We could talk about that for hours. So how did you first get involved in the music industry? Were you always into music, or was that something that, you always wanted to do, or how did that come to be?
Yeah, I mean, in high school, that's when I like learned how to play the drums. So I was in a band, like orchestra band, and just regular like jazz band in my high school. And from there, I was like, oh, this is like really fun, and I want to just continue to be a drummer. But
Yeah.
I didn't know like what else I could do. So I kind of was like looking into music production, and and I saw this school called Full Sail, which is in Florida, which is like a school that a lot of music producers want to go to. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I have some friends who've gone there.
yeah, so I wanted to. My mom really pushed me for a 4 year college first, and then to do music production afterwards. So that's when I applied to San Francisco State University, got in, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll just go. Kind of found the music business side of things there while I was in school. I didn't realize that you could work in music but not necessarily have to play music.
Hmm.
Um, so did that and actually got a couple internships, and then it was like, oh wow, this is like a really cool side of the business I didn't know existed before. And then just kind of stayed with it. And that was right when Facebook and Instagram was really, or Facebook and Twitter and other online platforms were really becoming a big thing. And so I just kind of dove into learning how to do social media management and advertising.
Wow. And do you feel like your experience at Full Sail really helped you kind of go in that direction?
So I actually like I didn't do like a full program there because I went to school in San Francisco, and then afterwards I was like, oh, maybe let me just take like an online class or something. But I actually didn't like do a certificate or anything. I just ended up finding internships, and that taught me a lot
Mhm.
more than anything else. And honestly, it's like interning in the business is the best way to go because you're going to make so many connections and getting real world experience and seeing what you do like and what you don't like. So that actually opened up a lot of doors for me.
Wow. And a question I get a lot is how do you find good internships? Do you have any advice for people who are looking for internships to get that further experience?
I mean, besides just like looking for job boards, honestly, like my big thing was finding people's email addresses through the company's websites or
Mm,
finding people on LinkedIn and just sending them a message and just like being really proactive on that end because I didn't wait for a job internship to like show up for me to want to take it or anything. I literally just hit up a bunch of people knowing that I'm probably not going to hear back from a lot of them, but I'm going to hear back from some and just kind of
hmm
played the numbers game. And plus being proactive shows them initiative and shows them that like, hey, you actually want to do this. So that opened up a lot of doors for me. It's just like, I'm going to find your email address and I'm going to just send you an email and I'm going to follow up until you get back to me. And we'll go from there.
Wow. Yeah. And also, I would suggest, have you ever used that tool Hunter IO?
Yeah. Yeah. I did
Yeah,
actually use that for a couple times. So that was a good
yeah,
one.
that's a great tool if anybody on here hasn't used it yet. I use that a lot for press outreach. You can usually find any company and any email address you're looking for. So that will help you with that proactive outreach as well. You get a ton of free uses before they start hitting you up for money. So yeah, get into that. So when did you start realizing that, websites in particular were kind of your bread and butter? Like, because, you mentioned getting into social and getting into
Mhm.
other industry, like the business side of the music industry. But when did that really become something you fell in love with?
So that was when I was a project manager at Empire. So that was like my last full-time industry gig. And so when I was over there, we were having to uh, come up with a way to like get a lot of websites for our artists that they currently were outdated or they just didn't have any, and we didn't have budget or time really to contract a third-party developer and to make all these custom sites. So my colleague and I were just like Googling stuff and we came across Squarespace and we took a couple days to kind of like mess around with it and learn it. But once we got it down, we were just knocking out templates for all our artists that we were had on a roster. And while I was doing that, I was like, well, I can actually kind of turn this into a side business and work with like small businesses and other people besides music. And I kind of just was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna try it out.
Wow. And
Um,
when was this? Like what year?
this was 2015, 16, yeah, around there.
Wow. Okay.
So
And
yeah,
and was Squarespace still pretty easy to use even back then?
it was, but it was a little more complicated because they didn't have like the nice features that they do now. The
Hmm
templates were a little more restrictive. Um, but it was definitely like easier to use than any other platform that was out there at the time because before then, all you were really stuck with was, like WordPress or like Big Cartel or some other sites that were like just out of what I wanted to develop in. So, Squarespace was definitely like a site that I was like, all right, well, there's a learning curve, but once you get past it, it's pretty easy
hmm
to go from there.
Yeah, and now you specialize in Squarespace
Yeah.
website design, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually like a Squarespace authorized trainer, so I can, teach workshops and classes on Squarespace's behalf. And they're not really growing that program anymore just because they're kind of shifting to other focuses. But like it was just myself and I think like 100 other designers were part of this like beta program that they launched, and I was able to actually teach a couple of Squarespace workshops. Actually teaching a couple more that are coming up. Gonna partner with like General Assembly to do a couple
Mm.
online programs. But yeah, I just been in the platform for 5 or so years and just kind of love it.
Wow. And it's changed so much because I use Squarespace for my website and I used to use it, back in the day and it's changed so much. It's even easier to
Oh yeah,
use.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
which is
it's way
incredible.
yeah it's way easier and it's also allowing you to do a little more custom stuff than they previously have. So
Hmm
it's pretty exciting to see like where it's headed.
Wow. I'm curious, what do you get like a frequent question when you teach? Is there like something that comes up again and again that people are a little unsure of?
I mean, people just it's funny because like I when I am doing like trainings with other people and stuff, I often feel like I try to put myself in their shoes, and because a lot of times it's like they don't know how to add an image or a text block or stuff like that. And like for me, because I've been in the platform for so long, it's like second nature. But I kind of like have to remind myself, like when I was in that platform, it's not as like user friendly as to some people who don't know technology as well as it like
Hmm.
advertises. So it's just, sometimes it's just like people just get scared of adding certain like content blocks because they don't want to mess up the site. But I'm the exact opposite where
Yeah.
I'm just like, go mess with it, go break it,
Hmm.
and just like learn your mistakes because honestly, like that's the only way that you will be better at what you do. Instead of just being worried
Yep.
about making a mistake, is just go make them.
I could not agree more. I think you learn
Yeah,
the most from your mistakes, right? So might as well make
exactly,
them. You're going to make them
exactly.
anyway, so might as well
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, exactly. Like you're gonna learn faster by making mistakes than you will being too careful.
Absolutely. That's a really good point just for anything, not even website building, right? Especially in
Yeah.
music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
100%.
so for artists specifically, why should they care about having a good website? And we'll get more into like what a good website means, but why should they care about a website and what is that? What's like the value of that, especially for a musician?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I get that question a lot, and I've gotten that question a lot from, starting out at a couple of jobs I had previously. But it's like your online content hub, right? It's if someone who doesn't know you can go to your um, website and find out everything that they need to know about you. So like who you are, like the music
Mhm.
that you've just recently released, any new videos, are you on tour, what kind of merch you're selling, and just kind of get an idea of like who you are as an artist, but without having to like dig deep throughout the Spotify and SoundCloud and other platforms. They're just like it's one central hub.
Mhm.
And then you can also use it to better market yourself, right? So if you're pitching yourself for uh, management, you can send someone a link that has everything that they need to see.
Mhm.
Same if you're pitching yourself to press, you can send people a link that they can see everything about you, um, and so on and so on. So I think it's really important to just have like one centralized system that houses everything that you do. If that's music, merch, tour, videos, really anything. It's just important to have that hub.
Absolutely. Yeah, and making it easier on the user experience, right? Like you said, it's a centralized place. You're not making them go to like 50 different links because nobody will do that. So it's
Exactly.
just driving them into this one home. Really, it's your online home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't want to make people having to do a bunch of things because they just won't do it. So it's just so much easier to send someone one link and then have them go through and do their own searching.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. And you mentioned merchandise, which I think is such a
Hmm.
fascinating topic. And I think when people think about merch, maybe they think about, a table at a concert where you're at the
Hmm.
concert and you're experiencing it, and then you go and you buy merch because you want to remember that feeling. But it also translates to your digital online home as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So are there any, with your work with artists, why is it important to have a merchandising like shopping e-commerce experience on your website as well?
Well, I mean, there's two things. One is that like it's a dollar generator. It brings revenue in. And
Mhm.
it brings revenue in on a more passive basis than you would needing to, for example, having to book a show or something. You just have merch on your website where anyone can go and purchase, and that money goes into your pocket. Um, versus having to share, you know, percentages when you have streams and share percentages when you are performing shows. You're doing cuts between like your tour manager and the venue itself and all this stuff. So when you have merch, you can literally pocket 100% of the money if you're doing everything in house. So I think that's super important to just from a dollar perspective is to have something where you can just make money and not necessarily have to be pushing it all the time. You just have it live on your website. A second piece of that is that it gives the fan and like what you mentioned, like when fans go to shows, you know, after they see the artist, they're more likely to go and like purchase merch because they want to remember that experience. But that's the same thing online too, right? Like you want fans to um, represent your brand wherever they are, which is great marketing,
Mhm.
because they're basically doing free press for you. And also, you know, you just want to have them give them the ability to, you know, like share a piece of the journey. So if I'm a fan of so and so and they have merch, I feel like if I'm buying from them, I'm directly supporting them, and I'm also
Mhm.
get a little piece of like their brand, and I get to have it on my own, which is like kind of special. So you know, it's just like a win-win in my opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, I'm just a big, big, big advocate for artists having merch.
And especially now in the time of COVID, I think having that set up and ready to go is even more critical.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, because now, you know, you can't perform live shows. I mean, besides streaming, you can't do a live show, you know, at a concert venue or stuff like that. So you need another way to generate revenue, and merch is like the perfect way. And you know, I get this question too a lot. If artists are like, all right, cool, I want merch, but I don't want to have to order 200 t-shirts, have to sit on a bunch of product and have to worry about shipping it and all this stuff. And so
Mm.
there's programs out there. Um, One that I've used in the past and that I recommend is called Printful. And you can actually have them print, fulfill, handle everything that goes into merchandising. And they do it all, and they take a bigger cut, so you take a smaller cut of the shirt sale or the, you know, hat or whatever it is. But you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to put upfront money into buying a bunch of product, having to get it printed, having to get shipped to your house, and then you having to go ship it to other people. They just
Mhm.
handle it for you, everything. So it's really like not there's no real risk in it because you're not gonna make a ton of money as you would if you actually did everything in house, but you're still gonna make a good cut without having to really do anything. And it's a good way to get into it to kind of like test some new merch ideas or to test you know, just some products you're unsure of if you actually think your fans will buy something from you without having to put like an initial investment into it. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. What
it's
was that
definitely
company name
yeah,
again?
it's called Printful. Um,
Printful.
and yeah, and you just go on and you can sign up, and if you do have a website like on Squarespace or something, the integration is so easy. It's literally like a click of a couple buttons. So it's like really easy to integrate your merch from there onto your Squarespace store.
That is so rad. Yeah, and that's one thing I like about Squarespace too is with the integrations. It's pretty
Hmm.
seamless. Like you don't
Oh
have to
yeah.
be a dev to get
No.
in there and make things happen.
Yeah, definitely not.
And are there any other best practices when it comes to setting up an online merch shop that you can share that you've seen from the past?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not like a huge artist, I would recommend starting with a couple pieces at a time and not kind of drop like a full on like fashion line because it's too much, right? It's too much, especially if you have all the inventory in your house. Like it's just too much to have to worry about.
Yeah.
Kind of like doing like a shirt, maybe, you know, just a couple items that you think your fans would actually be interested in purchasing, and kind of just scale from there and not have to be like, all right, cool, I need like five different colorways of sweatshirts, I need like five colorways of shirts. No, like I would say just like one of each, see how it does, and then kind of move and be like, all right, cool, I like this, I'm gonna order more, or I actually don't think this product is gonna sell, so you know, I'm not gonna like try to push it anymore. But
Definitely.
it's definitely like the way to go. And then also too from a fan perspective, like I don't want to go to a merch store and have to be like wow, I have to scroll through 35 products and it's just overwhelming, and I'm probably not going to want to order anything because I don't even know what I want.
Yeah, and I think the major point there that I like that you bring up is testing and kind of being in a testing
Hmm.
mindset before you go all in, especially on something like merch, which is a financial investment, but like you said, it's also a space investment of,
Yeah,
and maybe you have limited resources or spaces there. So I think that's smart to go in with like a testing mentality before you put all your chips in there.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then next, what I wanted to talk about, and you mentioned this briefly before too, was touring and
Hmm.
promoting tour schedules. And I think any of us music fans or, fans of live music, we know that the website is where you want to go when
Hmm.
somebody announces their tour. So what are some tips on having, like, what's a good tour schedule page on a website to you? Like, what do you think of when you think of what that looks like?
I mean, depending on the tour, if it's something that, there's like a ton of cities that they're playing in like the States and worldwide, like it's just something that's simple that you can kind of scroll through and kind of see like what city they're in, like what are the dates, and then if there's a button to go and buy tickets. It doesn't really have to be super complicated. It doesn't need to be like fancy either, because literally when you go to the artist site to see the tour, you're not really concerned about the interactiveness of everything. You're just kind of like, all right, cool. They're playing in San Diego on this date. I'm gonna click this button to buy tickets, and you just want to make it
Mhm.
as easy as possible for the person. Now, if you're playing, maybe if your tour is only like for 3 or 4 dates, maybe you can get a little more custom on that end and like maybe make like individual pages for each show or individual events for each show on your website. But it doesn't have to be super complicated. Honestly,
Mhm.
like with anything you do, is like the more simple you make it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, and we're going to show some examples, hopefully, if I can get it to work,
Yeah.
of a good tour page, and you'll see the simplicity is better, especially when you're
Hmm.
dealing with like a lot of information. Especially
Yeah.
thinking about mobile and what it looks like on the mobile experience, you want it to look as simple and clear as possible. So we'll get into that if I can figure out how to show that in a little bit. Oh,
Definitely.
and also Max, you also run digital marketing and ads.
Yeah.
So we had
Hmm.
talked about in the past about how a good tour page can also trickle over to digital ads. Do you want to talk
Hmm.
about that connection too?
Yeah, I mean, especially running campaigns, like ad campaigns for specific shows, you're going to want to send the user to a place where they can go and buy tickets right away, and not having to go through and like click on and have to worry about like, oh, I'm going to send someone to a homepage. No, you want to send someone to like the tour page, or specifically the tour date that they're looking for. So, if you have, so the example I mentioned earlier, where it's if you're only going to do like 3 or 4 shows, and one of them is going to be one of them is going to be in San Diego, that you can build a specific San Diego tour page on your website, and then on your advertising, send people right there, so they don't have to go and click through anything. They can just go and purchase the ticket. So just like I said, like just making it as simple and relevant as possible. So
Yes.
you don't want to, you want to, like what we mentioned earlier, you want to create less friction for the person.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's just
It's
super
all
important.
about easy. Make it as
Yeah.
easy for the fan or the booking agent or
Oh
whoever
yeah.
is on your website to
Hmm.
access what they need. That should always be the goal.
100%.
Awesome. And then, so I can't believe it's already 5:55. So I think I'm going to sneak in one more question, and then I want to make sure there's some time for audience questions if they have them. But I did want to talk about bands in town because I think that's
Okay.
that's something that's been high on people's radar, especially with their partnership with Twitch. But
Yeah.
how does bands in town work into a website? Like, what can you do between the two platforms?
So the cool thing with Squarespace is that it has a direct integration. So anything that you build on Bandsintown, you can just literally copy and paste a link and embed it directly onto your Squarespace page. So it saves you so much time having to like build out a whole tour schedule and add ticket links and things like that. So honestly, like if you're an artist and you are doing a tour, hopefully that people can do tours soon. But it's definitely like the way to go. Yeah, I mean it's it's so simple to integrate it with your website, and even beyond Squarespace, I think it has integrations with like a bunch of other like WordPress
Hmm.
and Wix and things like that. So for an artist to use that, I highly recommend.
Definitely. And they're just like at the forefront of a lot of things on the tech side in the
Yeah.
music industry. So I think it's just
Hmm.
smart in general for bands, no matter what level you're at, to get familiar with the Bands in Town platform and the offerings that they have on there.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome. So before we get to questions, because websites are so visual, so Max and I were talking about how do we show you guys what a good website looks like. So I'm going to try something. So Max, hold
Okay.
on for it. Let me see if I can do this. Uh, okay, so I'm going to pull up the TDE website. Can you guys see
Oh,
that
nice.
okay? Can you see it? I know
I
it's
can
only
see
a
it.
screen, it's only a
It look
screenshot. I know.
it looks cool though. That's cool. You
Okay,
can do
as
this.
long as it looks cool, that's all I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the TDE, it's Top Dog Entertainment website, and why you think this is a good example of what an artist should shoot for?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the site a lot because one, it's like super clean and aesthetically, it's like matches their label brand on point. It looks like a Top Dog Entertainment website. It just with the pictures and the graphics and everything that they use, it's just really clean. Plus, it's a label website, so with that, it's like you want to have access to each individual artist that's under that label, which is super
Hmm.
important, which it does. And third thing is like it has a great merch store experience, and it has like all the products that you need that you would want to find from each individual artist. So I just think overall it's like super clean
Hmm.
to be on. What about you? Do you
Absolutely.
like it?
I like it. Yeah, I went on it earlier today, and I was looking at, and for people who don't know, TDE is Kendrick Lamar, SZA, Schoolboy Q, that whole kind of
Yeah.
outfit. And so I love SZA, and I went on her section of the merchandise site, and there's definitely a hat on there I want. But it was very easy, very clean, very
Hmm.
accessible. I understood what each action I was taking, where it was going to lead me. So yeah, it was really well done, especially with that many artists that you're trying to
Yeah.
have, representation from. I think that can get complicated really fast, but I didn't feel that way as the user.
Exactly. It was like super easy to navigate back and forth, which is
Mhm.
important because you don't want to if I want to go for Kendrick Lamar, but I also want to check out another artist, I want it to be easily to navigate through, which I think they totally accomplished.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. This is really well done. And then I'll show one more example and then we'll get to questions. So you guys, if you have any questions, put them in the question box here and I'll start going through those after we go through this last example. So let me pull this up. And it's a bummer I can't like move around the picture, but this is Verticals Agency, and is the URL Max verticalsagency.com?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, it
yeah,
is. Cool.
yeah, so guys, go check that out when we're done with this call. It's a really nice looking website as well. But Max, you worked on this personally. So what was working on this like?
It was cool. I mean, like honestly, the founder of the agency, he built it. He just wanted some help in like organizing the content. So from an organization perspective, it was super easy to put together. But this is an agency that works with a ton of different clients across different genres and does different services. So the goal in mind was just to lay out the content in a way that's easily digestible for someone who is kind of just going to learn more information.
Hmm.
And which can also be complicated when you are working with a ton of different people and you're having a ton of different services. It's kind of hard to like put that in a good structure, that someone can kind of get the information that they need and then learn more if they want to. So that was a fun project to work on. And it's just like, again, it's super simple layout. It's clean. It matches the brand aesthetic. So, the build isn't custom at all, but we're using our brand colors for it to make sure that, when people are on the website, they know that they're on the vertical agency website. They're not on another brand's website.
Definitely. And I noticed the black and white motif between TDE and verticals. It's such
Hmm.
like a easy way to make things look clean and then make important information pop using color. Because I noticed on the verticals website there was certain information that was in red and
Hmm.
it looked really nice and popped and really drew your eye against that like black and white background. So just saying
Yeah.
I noticed the similarities there, but I liked how the red, was like a call to action on
Hmm.
verticals. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
awesome.
it's good to have, like one thing we didn't touch upon that much, but it's good to have like your brand colors, and kind of
Mm,
use that throughout your website. If you're into like just a black and white aesthetic, you want to make sure that matches the website that you're building and not add like random colors in there because the person's going to get a little confused. And it doesn't really just match your whole like persona of as like the brand that you're pushing. So I would just be mindful of that too. Like when you're building, stuff on the website and when you're using colors, across social and stuff like that to make sure that they all match and they all align.
Absolutely. Yeah, and making that a cohesive experience so people don't have to figure out if you're the same brand that they're looking
Yeah.
for, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I have trouble with that sometimes too, especially with my own branding, but it's so important. So definitely a
exactly.
good point. Awesome. Looks like we got a question in here. Let's see if this pulls up.
Is there the
Okay.
website builder platform one?
Oh,
Oh,
so I
cool.
just went with this one first from John. So what are some of the qualities of a great artist website? And can you name a few, which we just kind of did, but if there's another, kind of a couple qualities that you want to call out right now, that would be great to talk about too.
Yeah, I mean, one is just that like it's organized well, right? So the person that is going onto the website can find what they're looking for in a couple seconds, right? Because if they can't, they're going to bounce off and they're not going to be on your website.
Hmm.
Two, is it mobile friendly? It's great that your website works on your desktop, but does it work on mobile? And how does it look? Is it slow? Is it too much information? You want to make sure that, your website is just easily to load on mobile, and that people can kind of get what they need to on mobile as well, just because we're constantly on our phones.
Hmm.
And it's probably going to be the first place where someone actually sees your website versus going on desktop to type in the URL. So definitely doing that. And that great thing with Squarespace is that like it's mobile friendly and the mobile side of the platform works really well, and you don't really have to add anything custom into that side. Third thing is that you don't want to overload someone with too much information, right? Like you don't
Hmm.
want to, even if you have a ton of songs out there, you don't want to put every single song on your website because one, it's going to make the website load really slow. Two, it's going to give the person too much anxiety to pick which song they want to listen to. You want to be like, all right, here's two songs, check them out. If you want to listen to more, then follow me on Spotify.
Hmm.
Same thing with videos, right? Like if you have a new video, put that one out there, but you don't need to have your whole catalog on your website because it's just too much information. And you want them to go and interact with you on your other platforms that you have to grow your following in. So it's just kind of giving people, you know, an overall taste and your hub of your content, but you don't have to overwhelm them at the same time.
I think that's such a great point about load times because, again,
Hmm.
going back to I think what the theme is of this talk is you're trying to make things as easy as possible for somebody who comes to your website, and if it's taking forever to load, they're just going to bounce,
Yeah,
right? Like nobody has attention spans anymore. So
exactly.
load time is huge. Make sure you're really keeping an eye on that. And then also, yeah, you don't need to put your whole catalog on the website. Again, thinking about attention spans, you want to put your best work, your newest single, things like that first and
Hmm.
foremost, so that that gets to the attention point of the user and you're not clouding it with all these options. So
Yeah,
yeah, I just think that's the theme of this talk is just make things as easy and simple as possible. Yeah, and Tom
100%.
said experience is everything in the comments, and that's 100% true. Okay, this is my first time using the question box so officially, so this is fun. Um, let's see. Here we go. Okay, when should a young artist develop their own site? When do y'all think is the right time? From Smiles Jones.
I mean, I think they should develop a site when they're starting out, right? Like you want to have something that you can immediately send people to. It's the same thing with when you have a business. You want to have a website for that business. Artists sometimes don't really think as themselves as a business, but it really is at the end of the day. Like you are,
Hmm.
um, you're, I don't know, just in my mind, like you are a business, so you need to make sure everything is set up. If that's your website, your socials are set up, everything is kind of already set in place. Because what you'll notice is if you kind of put something on the back burner and you go, all right, well, I'll get a website developed, later on, and I'm not really too worried about it, then it becomes a bigger issue. It might be a little more cost. It might be a little more expensive because it's going to be a rush job. because you're like, all right, I actually need this up right away versus getting it done earlier and it's kind of adding to it. And two, and yeah, you're just going to be missing out on all the data and things you can collect for people that are going to your website, right? Like you want to have people get there as early as they can to see like what they're interacting with the most, what they like the most, and just kind of start building from there and having to not necessarily lose out on that by not having a website. So I think from day one, get something built. It doesn't need to necessarily be like the most proper thing out there. It's websites are always are never a finished project in my mind. Like you never are building a website and you complete it and you're like, cool, that's done. I'm never going to touch it again. It's like it's a work in progress always. So I would have that mentality with like, all right, day one, I'm an artist. Let me go just get a splash page up, right, where I'm collecting people's email addresses or I'm doing something, but at least I have some sort of online link that I can send people to learn more.
100%. Yeah, it's progress over perfection, right? Like it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be done. Just do it. Don't be scared of it not looking perfect. Get something up there and then keep feeding it. Because I always think of websites like a plant or a pet where you kind of have to keep taking care of it. And that's how it grows. And that's how you grow your audience. So just keep that in mind as none of us are perfect. It's never going to be that way. So just go for it. Awesome. Let's see if we have any other questions in here.
Agreed.
No other questions.
I think there was one comment.
MG said in the chat, she said, is there a website building platform that you guys recommend for an artist that is barely starting out? And I bet you know what our answer is going to be, but I think just reiterating that Squarespace is really good for even people who are starting out, right, Max?
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect platform out there. Like, you don't need to know any code. There's a lot of already pre-made templates, so you can just kind of plug and play your information in there for the time being until you kind of get more comfortable with the platform. Yeah, and it's like relatively cheap too if you're just starting out too. I think there's a personal plan. It's like $14 a month, which is reasonable. And yeah, I mean, I think it's as far as like builders out there that, you know, are easy to launch in a day, a couple hours a day. Like, I think that's probably the best one on the market. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's all a matter of preference. But I think, you know, for starting out, I would highly recommend just getting even a one-page landing page up and just having something to build off of.
Totally. And I have the basic plan of my Squarespace site, and it's pretty affordable. There are some integrations you can't do and some blocks there, but I think if you're just starting out, you're not even going to want to really mess with that stuff just yet. That can always come down the line. So yeah, I think it's affordable, and I think it's good for someone who is just starting out. Awesome. Definitely. Well, I think that's all the questions we have right now. So everyone, if you do have any questions, please go see Max. I have his website pinned in the comment there. Also, he's doing free 15-minute consultations of websites. So if you do want to get some advice on a website that you do have up, he's doing that for free, right, Max?
Yeah, so just go to my contact page, fill out my form, and then we'll set up a time to chat. I can either go through your current website and help audit it for you to see what we can improve on, or if you're looking to build your website, we can kind of just, you know, talk about a plan to like what you need to move forward with that. But I'm happy to chat more about this if anyone wants to send me a message.
Awesome. Yeah, go see Max. He's the guy. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and for Max being my second guest on this IG Live series. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. This is awesome.
Yay. Oh, this is great. Well, thank you everyone so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Cool.
Bye,
You
Max.
too. Thank you.